I spent 10 years and all my savings taking care of my husband, who had gone mad after a car accident left him with lasting injuries. When his condition flared up, he would beat me black and blue, and once he came to, he would hold me and cry his eyes out. My friends all urged me to divorce him, but I always remembered that he had shoved me out from under the car and taken the blow to the head, which was why he ended up like this, until he accidentally beat me to death, and my soul hovered near the ceiling. I watched him gently wipe away the tears of his childhood sweetheart. Why are you crying? Now that she's dead, shouldn't we be celebrating? I feel sorry for you, Jia-jun. You've been pretending to be crazy for 10 years just to swindle all her money away. He kissed her lips, his voice icy. I've put up with it for 10 years. At last, I don't have to touch that bitch anymore. So that accident was something they had deliberately staged, just to put on this perfect tragic act. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day my husband was diagnosed with a mental illness. Mr. Liang's brain nerves were damaged by the impact. Although there's no danger to his life, his mental state may become unstable, sometimes lucid, sometimes manic. The doctor handed me the diagnosis report and sighed repeatedly. Only then did I realize I had been reborn. Take him home first and let him recuperate slowly. A familiar environment will help him recover. I didn't pay attention to the doctor's advice. I just looked at Liang Jia-jun on the bed. His eyelids twitched slightly, clearly pretending to sleep. In my previous life, I believed the doctor's words and carried him home. By day, I worked myself to the bone to make money. By night, I came back to endure his beatings. As for his childhood sweetheart, Lin Xiaoxiao, she put on the guise of a psychiatric expert and took him out for treatment during the day. In reality, she was driving my car, swiping my card, and gallivanting around everywhere, living it up and fooling around. In this life, you still want me to take you home? Dream on. I walked over to the hospital bed, bent down, and quietly reached my hand toward his thigh. Then I twisted hard. Aya, a pig-slaughtering scream tore through the ward's silence. Liang Jia-jun shot up from the bed and pointed at me, cursing furiously. Zhang Qingyan, are you fucking insane? I wasn't crazy, but in this life, I was going to make you the one who really lost his mind. I shouted toward the door. Help, doctor, nurse, my husband's having an episode. He's out of control. The nurse and doctor rushed in at once, only to see Liang Jia-jun with a ferocious look on his face, trying to leap off the bed to hit me, while I cowered in the corner, crying like a tearful little flower. Hurry, get the restraints on him, the doctor said decisively. Liang Jia-jun must have forgotten his crazy act, because he struggled desperately and roared at the nurse, get out, I'm not crazy. She's the one who's crazy. Wiping away my tears, I took his bound hand and said, honey, don't worry, even if you've lost your mind, I'll never divorce you. I choked back sobs, my voice neither too loud nor too soft, yet clear enough for everyone in the ward to hear. Liang Jia-jun's face changed in an instant, turning from red to ashen. He glared at me with all his might, the venom in his eyes nearly spilling over. The patients and family members around us looked at me with sympathy and admiration. This girl is really a good person. Her husband is like this, and she still won't abandon him. Yeah, to end up with something like this, she's really had the worst luck. I met everyone's gaze and tearfully poured my heart out to the doctor. Doctor, for his safety and mine, please help me contact the best psychiatric hospital right away. I want to transfer him there. What? Liang Jia-jun's eyes nearly popped out of his head. Zhang Qingyan, how dare you? He writhed frantically, the restraints rubbing his skin red. I'm not sick. I'm not crazy, you poisonous woman. I ignored his shouting and looked at the attending doctor with pity and helplessness. Doctor, look at him. He's already starting to ramble and showing paranoid delusions. I'm clearly his lawful wife, but he can't even recognize me. Please hurry and help me push this along. I have to send my husband to the best psychiatric hospital and get him treated. The doctor stepped back helplessly, offering me sympathetic reassurance. Ms. Zhang, don't worry, the people from the psychiatric hospital will be here any minute. As soon as he said that, I saw terror flood Liang Jia-jun's face. Every word of his defense only became ironclad proof that his condition was severe. Zhang Qingyan, you bitch, you set me up, I'll kill you. He seethed with rage and tried to rush over to hit me, only to go down under the doctor's sedative. Watching him gradually quiet down, powerless to kill me no matter how much he wanted to, I curved my lips. Honey, don't worry, I'll make sure they cure you. 2. The transfer procedures for the psychiatric hospital went through unusually smoothly. I chose Konning Psychiatric Rehabilitation Center for Liang Jia-jun, the facility with the strictest security in the city. I also specifically upgraded him to the VIP package, with 24/7 full coverage surveillance, double security doors, and sedative treatment twice a day. Just as I finished signing and was about to leave, Lin Xiaoxiao hurried Over, she grabbed my hand, her face full of anxiety and disbelief. Sister Qingyan, I heard about the car accident, but I never expected it to be this serious. How could you send Brother Jejun to a place like this? I pulled my hand free and calmly took a step back, putting some distance between us. I didn't have a choice either. The doctor said he has a strong violent tendency, and it's too dangerous to keep him at home. I sighed, then changed the subject, looking at her curiously. But how did you find your way here? I don't think I've had time to tell anyone yet. Lin Xiaoxiao's expression stiffened slightly, then she explained. I was worried about Jejun, so I called all his old friends one by one before I managed to find out. What a perfect excuse. I see. I nodded, a grateful smile appearing on my face. That's very thoughtful of you. By the way, I was just looking for an expert to consult. Didn't you say you had a friend who was a psychiatric specialist? Lin Xiaoxiao's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly said, yes, I have a friend who's an authority in this field. Sister Qingyan, don't worry, I'll make sure he uses the best treatment plan for Jejun. That's wonderful, I said ecstatically, and in front of Dr. Wang, the psychiatrist in charge at the nearby mental hospital, I fired off a string of questions at her. Miss Lin is certainly very kind. May I ask which hospital your expert friend works at? Could I take a look at his medical license and professional qualifications? After all, Jejun's condition is not something I dare hand over casually to some quack without a license. Lin Xiaoxiao's face turned beet red in an instant. She stammered for a long time, unable to get a single word out. I didn't give her a chance to catch her breath. I immediately turned around and said apologetically to Dr. Wang, I'm so sorry, my friend here is just too enthusiastic. I'm entrusting Jejun's condition to you from here on out. Also, to avoid any unnecessary trouble, from now on, aside from me, please be sure to confirm the identity of anyone who claims to be his friend, relative, or a specialist before allowing them to visit. If anything were to go wrong medically, none of us could bear the responsibility. Dr. Wang nodded solemnly. Mrs. Liang, please rest assured, we have strict visiting rules, and we will never make a mistake. Lin Xiaoxiao stood off to the side, her face as pale as a sheet, looking like a chicken with its neck pinched shut. Her plan to work with insiders to sabotage me was completely blocked at the very first step. After I got home, I dug out all of Liang Jejun's bank cards and called the bank's customer service line. Hello, I need to report all bank cards under my name and my husband Liang Jejun's name as lost. Yes, all of them, immediately, right now. The reason? Oh, my husband is mentally unstable. I suspect he's given the cards and passwords to outsiders. For the safety of the funds, please freeze all accounts immediately. In my previous life, they used the money from these cards to live in outrageous luxury. This time around, I wanted to see how stylish you could still be without my money. Sure enough, within 3 days, that shameless pair had already been driven to the brink. The tiny bug I had planted in Lin Xiaoxiao's car earlier picked up their frantic conversation. I lay there with a face mask on, listening at my leisure. That bitch, Zhang Qingyan, that bitch. Lin Xiaoxiao's voice was shrill and piercing. She froze every single card. When I went to withdraw money, it said the account had been frozen. From the other end of the line came Liang Jejun's voice, straining to hold back his rage, with a barely perceptible hint of panic. Xiaoxiao, we can't keep waiting. If this goes on any longer, I'm really going to be driven crazy here by those nurses and doctors. They give me injections every day. Then what are we supposed to do? We have no money now, and we can't even see her. I can't even afford to buy a bag anymore. Lin Xiaoxiao's voice broke into a sob. Got it, Brother Jejun. Just wait, I'll figure out a way to get you out first, and we can settle the score with that bitch Zhang Qingyan later. 3. Lin Xiaoxiao somehow got hold of a nursing age uniform and bribed a newly hired janitor, planning to work from the inside and outside to smuggle Liang Jejun out. I decided to play along and use their own scheme against them. That night, I deliberately called Dr. Wang and told him I'd had a nightmare. That Jejun had been in an accident, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, so I wanted him to make a few extra rounds. Dr. Wang comforted me and said everything was fine, but he still agreed to keep a closer eye on things. Around midnight, Lin Xiaoxiao disguised herself as a nursing aide and pushed a cart piled high with dirty sheets, quietly slipping into Liang Jejun's room. Liang Jejun had already changed clothes and was hiding at the very bottom of the cart. Everything went smoothly. They successfully got past the first checkpoint and reached the back entrance of the nursing center. Outside the back door, the bribed janitor was waiting to help them. However, just as Liang Jejun was climbing out of the cart, "What are you doing?" a sharp shout, accompanied by the harsh glare of several flashlights, left them with nowhere to hide. It was Dr. Wang with the security team, who happened to be passing by on patrol. Liang Jiejun and Lin Xiaoxiao were caught red-handed. The consequences of this escape attempt were severe. Liang Jiejun was labeled an extremely dangerous individual and transferred to the intensive care unit in the deepest part of the sanatorium. The windows there were no bigger than a hand, and the door was a reinforced iron one with 4 locks. His entire world was now confined to that 10 square meter room. He was completely imprisoned, but what surprised me was that he still managed to call Lin Xiaoxiao. Xiaoxiao, we're out of options. Over the wiretap, Liang Jiejun's voice was icy and desperate. Only if Zhang Qingyan dies can I get out. We can get the money, and this whole nightmare can finally end. I'll find a chance to tell the doctors I'm improving, and apply to see her outside. We'll meet at Clear Moon Lake outside the city. It's remote, no one's there at night. When the time comes, I'll push her in, hold her down, and say she jumped in a fit of despair, and I couldn't save her because I had an episode. Good, let's do it. Lin Xiaoxiao's voice carried a ruthless, all-or-nothing edge. Jiejun, this is our last chance. Listening to the conversation through my earpiece, the smile on my lips grew wider. When a person's every escape route is cut off, the evil within human nature is unleashed without restraint. The moment I've been waiting for has arrived. A few days later, I got a call from Dr. Wang. He said Liang Jiejun had been much more stable lately, no longer making a scene, and even able to carry on some simple conversations. Liang Jiejun himself strongly insisted on meeting me, and the location was set for the shore of Qingyue Lake, where he and I used to go on dates. Mrs. Liang, after our assessment, we believe this may be a good sign and might help his condition improve. We'll send 2 caregivers to accompany him then to ensure his safety. Then, all right, I agreed reluctantly. For the sake of his recovery, I'm willing to try again. Friday evening I parked the car in a small grove far away, cut the engine, and waited quietly. A few minutes later, a white vehicle from the care center slowly pulled up as well. The door opened, and Liang Jiejun got out with 2 caregivers. Liang Jiejun said to the orderly, "Sir, could you please wait in the car for a moment? I'd like to speak with my wife alone. It won't take more than 10 minutes. The orderlies exchanged a glance and nodded. After all, this had been discussed beforehand. Liang Jiejun took a deep breath, straightened his clothes, and walked step by step towards the woman in the red dress by the lake. That red dress was my favorite, the one I wore most often. Splash, water sprayed everywhere. The woman had no time to react before she was swallowed by the icy lake water. She choked on several mouthfuls of water, thrashing and struggling desperately as she cried out, "Jiejun, it's me." However, Liang Jiejun couldn't make out what she was shouting, or perhaps, he simply didn't care. Without a moment's hesitation, he jumped into the water, pressing her head down firmly, forcing her under again and again. Die, Zhang Qingyan, you bitch. You've ruined everything for me, he roared maniacally, having completely lost his mind. The woman's struggles grew fainter and fainter, until finally, the last string of bubbles vanished from the water's surface. Liang Jiejun gasped for air in ragged breaths, a twisted, deeply satisfied smile spreading across his face. He had done it. He had killed Zhang Qingyan. Freedom and fortune were now within his grasp. Just then, a voice tinged with curiosity drifted softly from the darkness behind him. "Honey. What are you doing?" 5. Liang Jiejun's body went rigid, the smile freezing instantly on his face. Slowly, inch by inch, he turned his head. I stood on the bank, wearing a beige trench coat, a flashlight in my hand, a sweet and innocent smile on my face as I watched him quietly. Our eyes met. "Darling, you killed the wrong person." I let out a soft chuckle, my tone as casual as if we were discussing the weather. His pupils contracted to pinpricks in an instant. A scream, inhuman in its pitch, tore through the silent night sky over Clear Moon Lake. Liang Jiejun's mind felt as if it had been struck by a sledgehammer. Ringing and reeling, in disbelief, he looked down, using the moonlight to stare fixedly at the face in the water. He stared for a good 10 seconds or more. He saw the corpse in the red dress clearly now, saw the wide-open, sightless eyes that belonged to Lin Xiaoxiao. Then, his gaze shifted back to me. I said with perfect composure, "Your little affair really does have a consistent theme. Does the thrill of wearing my clothes do it for you?" In that moment, the world as he knew it completely shattered. Hearing the screams, the 2 orderlies from the sanatorium's vehicle rushed over immediately. This was the scene that greeted them in the lake. A madman and a dead man were floating. On the shore stood his terrified, trembling, innocent wife. I collapsed onto the ground, pointing at Liang Jiejun in the water and wailing, "Murder, my husband's killed someone." In the distance, the piercing wail of police sirens grew louder. That sound was the final straw that shattered Liang Jiejun's sanity, but it also instantly triggered the survival instinct hardwired into his bones. He clutched his head and began thrashing wildly in the waist-deep water, churning it into a froth, "Ah, monster, stay back, don't come any closer." He let out an incoherent, guttural roar, his voice saturated with terror. He pointed frantically, first at Lin Xiaoxiao's corpse, then at me in horror, his entire being consumed by a raving madness. "Monster, I killed the monster, ha 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 ha, I killed it." This was the bizarre scene that greeted the first police officers as they rushed to the lakeshore. "Liang Jiejun, do you really think the same trick will let you slip away a second time? Fine, so you want to play crazy, I'll make sure you get your wish." Summoning every ounce of my strength, I sobbed until I was nearly faint, pleading with the police officers, "My husband, he's having another episode, you can't treat him like a criminal, he needs to be sent back to the psychiatric hospital immediately. Please, I'm begging you, send him back for the most intensive treatment available, please." The police looked at me, then at the man in the water who had completely lost his mind, a flicker of pity in their eyes because Liang Jiejun was deemed too severely ill to undergo normal interrogation. He was sent back to Kongning Psychiatric Sanatorium that very night. In my role as an utterly exhausted wife, I tearfully signed a special treatment consent form in front of the attending physician, Dr. Wang. On the document, I pressed my pen down hard, scoring a heavy line through the words ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. "Dr. Wang," I said, lifting my bloodshot eyes, my voice hoarse, "whatever it takes, you must cure him. I've heard electroconvulsive therapy is very effective for this severe, violent type of delusional disorder. Is that right?" Dr. Wang adjusted his glasses, his eyes filled with professional sympathy and a hint of hesitation. "Mrs. Liang, you must think this through carefully. ECT, electroconvulsive therapy as it's commonly known, works quickly, but the side effects are significant. It can lead to memory confusion, cognitive decline, and the process itself is extremely distressing." "I'm sure," I interrupted him without hesitation, my tone resolute. "If it can just make him normal again, if it can just stop him from living in those terrible delusions, I'm willing to do anything. Any amount of suffering is better than him being like this, out of his mind. It's for his own good." 6. Dr. Wang was moved by my devotion. He sighed and nodded. "Very well, Mrs. Liang, we respect your decision. We will arrange the most intensive treatment plan for Mr. Liang." And so, Liang Jiejun's good times officially began. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday became his scheduled day of torment. He would be pinned down on the treatment bed by several burly orderlies, his limbs bound. Cold electrode pads were affixed to his temples. The moment Dr. Wang flipped the switch, a powerful surge of electricity shot through his brain. He would convulse and spasm violently, like a fish thrown onto the shore. Even with a bite block forced between his jaws, white foam would gush uncontrollably from the corners of his mouth. His eyes would roll back in his head, leaving only the terrifying whites visible. The entire process lasted mere seconds, yet felt like an eternity. When the current stopped, he would collapse onto the bed like a limp rag, drenched in sweat. Upon waking, he was met with a splitting headache and hours of nausea and vomiting. His memory became fragmented, and he often couldn't tell if he was in reality or a dream. Sometimes, he would even forget who he was, but that was just the appetizer. The real show began when, through my discreet arrangements, Liang Jiejun was placed in the intensive violent ward of the sanatorium. This place housed the real deal, certifiably, authoritatively insane individuals. He was faking it, but the others were the genuine article. On Liang Jiejun's very first day there, during lunch, he happened to glance a moment too long at a bald patient eating with his hands. The bald patient bared his teeth in a grotesque grin directed at him. In the next instant, the bald patient lunged forward like lightning, pinning him forcefully to the ground. He then grabbed a nearby stainless steel food bowl and began smashing it down on his head, again and again with brutal force. By the time the orderlies rushed over and pulled them apart, his head was a bloody, pulpy mess lying on the floor. Watching the bald patient being dragged away while still leering at him, he felt a deep, primal fear. The next day he was in a deep sleep. In the middle of the night, his roommate, who always slept clutching something, mistook him for a newly acquired, oversized teddy bear. The 200-pound brute threw his entire weight on top of him, clamping his head tightly against his own chest. A wave of suffocation instantly overwhelmed Liang Jiejun. He struggled desperately, but couldn't budge the mountain of flesh an inch. Just as he thought he was going to be smothered to death, a nurse on night rounds noticed something was wrong and saved his life. He collapsed on the bed, gulping down air in huge breaths, his heart pounding so hard it felt ready to burst. Day 3, Liang Jiejun had just received his lunch, a plate of rice drenched in gravy and 2 steamed buns. Before he could even carry it back to his seat, a brawny man with drool on his chin and a vacant stare passed by. snatched all the buns from his tray, and stuffed them into his own mouth. Having starved all morning and recalling the ordeal of the past 2 days, Liang Jiejun was seething with rage. He charged forward to snatch them back, cursing, "You fucking lunatic." In response, the brawny man stopped chewing and stared at him, his face expressionless. Then, he grabbed Liang's outstretched right hand. A sharp, sickening crack. His index finger was snapped clean off at a grotesque angle. Agony ripped a blood-curdling scream from his throat. Here, the tricks and blustering roars he'd learned from feigning madness were utterly useless. They only earned him more direct, more vicious, and more senseless beatings and torture. Liang Jiejun tried to plead with the doctors and orderlies, insisting he wasn't sick, that it was all an act. But the more he protested, the more pitying their gazes became. "Mr. Liang, your delusional disorder has worsened. This is a classic case of anosognosia. Don't worry, we'll intensify your treatment." And so, the intensity of his electroconvulsive therapy was cranked to the maximum. His sedative dosage has been maxed out. He once thought insanity would be his get-out-of-jail-free card. Now, he lives in constant fear and torment, every single moment in agony. 1 month later, I was enjoying a pleasant afternoon tea when Dr. Wang's call came through. Dr. Wang's tone on the phone was complicated. "Mrs. Liang, your husband, he's been in a highly agitated state lately, crying and begging nonstop to see you. He says he has something very important to tell you, and it must be said in person." 7. He says he knows he was wrong, and he's begging you to come see him. I set down the delicate bone china teacup, a cold smirk curling at the corner of my mouth. The time had come. "All right, Dr. Wang. Thank you for your hard work. I'll be there this afternoon." I arrived at the visitation room of the Kongning Psychiatric Sanatorium. Through the visitation window, I saw Liang Jiejun. He was wearing a faded blue and white striped hospital gown that hung loosely on his emaciated frame. His hair had been shaved to a buzz cut, revealing several scars of varying depths on his scalp. Not a trace of his former arrogance and smugness remained on his gaunt face. His eyes were filled with a thick, palpable terror and desperation. The moment he saw me, Liang Jiejun shot up from his chair as if he'd seen a savior, lunged toward the glass, and grabbed the black handset. "Qing Yan." The moment he spoke, his voice trembled violently, choked with tears. "Qing Yan, I was wrong. I was truly wrong." Sobbing uncontrollably, his haggard face was streaked with tear tracks. "It was all that bitch Lin Xiaoxiao. It was her. She seduced me. She was the one who goaded me, saying that if we just got rid of you, we could be together forever, and all the assets in your name would be mine." Without a moment's hesitation, he shifted all the blame onto a dead woman. "Qing Yan, have you forgotten our past feelings? All those years we shared? Have you forgotten that car accident? I became mentally ill protecting you. I took the hit for you." Hearing this, I almost laughed out loud. That car accident was clearly something he and Lin Xiaoxiao plotted together. That whole "taking the fall for me" story was just a line he used to gaslight me after the fact. "Please, Qing Yan, let me out. I don't want to be here anymore. This place is hell, a living hell." He was sobbing uncontrollably, lightly bumping his head against the glass again and again with a dull thud. "Once I'm out, I'll be your slave. I'll do anything you say. I'll give you all of my family's wealth. Please, my heart belongs to you and you alone. I'll never look at another." I listened quietly, a smile fixed on my face the whole time, as if watching a clown perform. Only when he had finally cried himself breathless and could speak no more did I slowly pick up my handset. "Darling," I responded through the receiver in the gentlest, most caring voice I could muster. "What on earth are you talking about? You're sick, very sick. Everything you're saying is just a figment of your imagination. The doctor said you'll only truly be better when you can completely forget these unrealistic delusions. You need to cooperate with the treatment properly if you want to recover sooner, understand?" Liang Jiejun froze. Tears still streaked his face, his mouth slightly agape, his entire body rigid. He had imagined countless possibilities. He thought I would be furious, that I would question him, that I would cry, or even that I might relent. The plea in his eyes slowly faded away. "Zhang Qing Yan." He threw himself against the glass, his face contorted with rage. "It was you. This was all your scheme, you vicious woman." I picked up the telephone receiver, smiling as I looked at him. "Darling, what are you talking about? I don't understand." "Stop pretending," he roared. "What do you want?" "I don't want much," I said, tilting my head and raising an eyebrow. "I just want you to find life unbearable and death unattainable." 8. Liang Jiejun began savagely battering the cold barrier with his head and fists. "You poisonous bitch, you viper-hearted woman. Did you think I didn't know it was you behind this?" His sanity had completely snapped, and he roared with a hoarse, ragged voice. "Just you wait, and see, when I get out of here, I'll kill you with my own hands. I swear it, just like I planned. I'll drown you in that icy lake, then chop you into pieces, mince you up and feed you to the dogs. You think you've won? I'm telling you, no way. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. I'll kill you. I'll kill your whole damn family." Outside the visitation room, Dr. Wang and the two orderlies paled and rushed in immediately. They scrambled frantically, trying to subdue Liang Jejun, who had descended into utter, raving madness. I watched him being pinned to the floor by two burly caregivers, yet he kept struggling desperately and roaring at me. I took out, one by one, the special gift I had prepared for him from my bag. The photos were intimate snapshots of them traveling around the country in my car. The stacks of bills were records of their spending spree, squandering my hard-earned money. Finally, there was a tiny USB flash drive. Inside here are the call recordings of you and Lin Xiaoxiao plotting the car crash, and all the conversations you had about how to kill me. I shook the USB drive at him and said softly, "Honey, don't worry, I'll hire the best lawyer in all of China to defend me. I'll make them prove to the judge that you, Liang Jejun, were fully aware, clear-headed, and entirely rational when you killed Lin Xiaoxiao, a perfectly normal man with full criminal responsibility." In that instant, Liang Jejun's face went deathly pale, and the light in his eyes was completely snuffed out. I walked away humming a tune, his hysterical curses ringing in my ears. A few days later, the courtroom was packed to capacity. This bizarre case of a mentally ill patient accidentally killing his lover had captured the entire city's attention. I took my seat in the witness box as the key witness. Liang Jejun's defense lawyer was still trying to use an insanity plea to get him acquitted when it was my turn to speak. I didn't look at Liang Jejun. Instead, I faced the judge and jury and began slowly. "Your Honor, before I state the facts, I'd like to tell you all a story that spans 10 long years. I started from the beginning, how we met, the accident, the decade of care I provided, and every single beating I endured." My voice was calm, yet laced with a sorrow that moved the entire courtroom. Then, I presented my evidence: the truth behind the car crash, the embezzlement of the estate, the plot to commit murder. When the recording from the USB drive played clearly in the courtroom, the entire room erupted in an uproar. "Jejun, if we just hit him hard enough to cause a minor brain injury, we can claim he's gone insane, push her into the water, hold her down, and we'll just say she was suicidal." Every word, every utterance, was damning proof of their guilt. Public opinion exploded. Liang Jejun sat in the defendant's dock, his face ashen. He looked at me, the hatred in his eyes was gone, replaced only by boundless fear and a flicker of pleading. He knew it was over for him. 9. Finally, the court delivered its verdict. The defendant, Liang Jejun, is found guilty of intentional homicide and fraud. For these combined crimes, he is sentenced to death, to be carried out immediately. The moment the judge's gavel fell, I saw Liang Jejun collapse in his chair, like a puddle of mud. He had feigned madness for 10 years, only to meet his end in a state of perfect clarity. Stepping out of the courthouse, the sunlight was just right. I looked up at the azure sky and took a deep breath. The air was finally free of the scent of blood and decay, replaced by the smell of freedom and new beginnings. Reporters swarmed forward, thrusting microphones in my face. "Ms. Zhang, how are you feeling right now? What would you like to say about this outcome?" I looked into the camera and smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile I hadn't felt in so long. "I want to say that justice may be delayed, but it will never be denied." And I paused, my gaze seeming to pierce through time and space, seeing my past self from another life, broken, battered, and unable to rest in peace. To all those walking through darkness right now, I want to say, please don't give up hope, because dawn will always come. In the end, I sold that house full of nightmares and used what was rightfully mine to open a small flower shop. Every day, I kept company with flowers and lived in harmony with the sunlight. I didn't start any new relationships, nor did I wait around expecting anything, because I had finally learned that the greatest love of all is to love yourself. One day, a customer asked me why I grew so many sunflowers in the shop. I smiled and told her, because they always turn toward the sun. Just like me, in my past life, I died for him. In this life, he died because of me. The price of loving the wrong person, I paid it with a lifetime of pain, and he paid for it with his own life. That's fair. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go anywhere, the next one gets even better. After my daughter was admitted to Peking University through direct recommendation, she immediately announced that she was cutting me off as her mother. "I have my own real mom. You're just the woman who came between my parents' marriage." I was kicked out of the celebration dinner, stumbled aimlessly down the street, and got sent flying by a car. Just before I died, I heard her say to her father, "Don't bother saving her. If she gets hit and dies, it's for the best. Our family can get a huge compensation payout." When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the year my daughter finished her high school entrance exams. At that moment, relatives and friends were congratulating me one after another. My daughter, Song Jejia, had gotten into a top-tier high school, and today I was hosting a celebration banquet for her. Everyone chatted and laughed over the meal, praising Jejia and occasionally complimenting me on how well I had raised my child. Song Jejia was wearing the new princess dress I had bought for her. The corners of her mouth were turned down, and she was looking at me sideways with a face full of contempt. She muttered under her breath, "You're so useless, you have to rely on me to show off. If I just stop studying, let's see what you'll have left to brag about. Just wait, next time I'll deliberately get the lowest score on purpose, and see how my dad deals with you." Her voice reached my ears, leaving me in a daze. Looking at Song Jejia's smug face, the memory of my past life, being hit by a car and dying a miserable death, flashed through my mind again. An overwhelming surge of hatred welled up from the depths of my heart. My sister-in-law, standing beside me, noticed my distracted expression and spoke up, "Sis, high school is the most critical stage. You mustn't slack off in managing Jejia. Our Song family has entrusted you with a future Tsinghua or Peking University candidate. For all 3 years of high school, you must accompany Jiajia as a live-in tutor." Before I could even open my mouth, Song Jia retorted to her aunt with clear displeasure in her voice, "Mind your own business. I don't want her coming with me. I'm going to live in the dorm. Who wants to be around her every single day?" Her aunt shot her a look and scolded, "Why can't you tell what's good for you? High school is tough. How can the school cafeteria compare to your mom's cooking? And as for the dorms, do you really think they're more comfortable than living at home?" Coming back to my senses, I watched the aunt and niece play off each other, a cold sneer forming in my heart. "She's not my mother. She's just a homewrecker who broke up a marriage. My mother is Xia Yan, not her." Song Jejia straightened her neck defiantly, correcting her aunt's words. All eyes in the banquet hall turned toward me, their gazes a mix of curiosity, pity, and scorn. Yet, without exception, no one dared to speak up and criticize Song Jejia, the newly crowned top scorer of the high school entrance exams. My sister-in-law's expression was inscrutable. It held a hint of smug satisfaction and mockery, as if she was waiting for the show to begin. I knew she and Xia Yan were best friends. I smiled, feigning helplessness. "Oh, child, you're 16 and still so immature. When I married your father, your birth mother already had a child with another man who was old enough to run around. I'm just here to run an errand." My sister-in-law's mouth twitched. "Now that you're older, I have to respect your wishes. Don't worry, I definitely won't go with you as a study companion. We can even make a vow about it today." "Alright." I tried my best to look at her with a feigned expression of affection. Seeing this, Song Jejia thought she had me under her thumb and said with a smug look, "That's more like it, but you have to keep your word." "Absolutely, absolutely. All these relatives and friends here can bear witness." After just a few sentences of conversation, the people around us could see my weak position within the Song family. My sister-in-law grew somewhat anxious upon hearing me promise Song Jejia I wouldn't accompany her. "Sis-in-law, Jejia is just a kid who doesn't know any better, but surely you should. Don't tell me you're going along with her nonsense." I cut her off. "Today is Jejia's celebration for getting into university. She calls the shots. Come on, everyone, raise your glasses to toast our Jejia for achieving the top score in the entire city." What does it mean to be a live-in tutor for a high school student? It means rising before the rooster and turning in after the dog. Not only do you have to shuttle her to every cram school and tutoring session, but you also have to meticulously prepare nutritionally balanced meals, all while enduring Song Jejia's verbal abuse. In my past life, I tutored her for 3 years and aged several years because of it. She got a guaranteed admission to Peking University, but I ended up with neurasthenia and chronic insomnia, and now they expect me to be her unpaid live-in maid again in your dreams, especially considering I died because of her in my past life. My husband, Song Yuan, had been married before. Song Jejia is his daughter from his previous marriage. They divorced when Jejia was 3 years old. At that time, Xia Yan was already secretly pregnant with another man's child. She didn't want Jejia and specifically asked for the car worth about 400,000 yuan registered under Song Yuan's name. The reason she didn't ask for the house was that it belonged to Song Yuan's parents. When I married Song Yuan, Jejia was already in the 2nd grade. Back then, she was being looked after by her grandmother and was always dressed in dirty clothes. Her cheeks were often smeared with snot because she looked rather unkempt. She was often bullied by the other kids at school. After I married into the family, I couldn't get pregnant for the first 2 years, so I treated Jejia as my own daughter. Her personality gradually became more cheerful and outgoing. I enrolled her in expensive extracurricular tutoring, hobby classes, horseback riding lessons, and summer camps. After school, I tutored her with her homework and exercised with her. Her grades went from being at the bottom of her class in the lower grades to consistently ranking in the top 3 of her year by 4th and 5th grade. The money I had saved before marriage flowed out like water. Yet the Song family never once asked how much a single one of Song Jiejia's hobby classes cost. Her grandmother would only mock me, saying I was putting on airs and making a fuss over nothing. In her eyes, I was just tormenting her precious granddaughter. In the 3rd year of our marriage, I became pregnant. Song Yuan was overjoyed, and my mother-in-law's face also lit up with delight. But while playing with a toy car, Song Jiejie drove it right under my feet, tripping me as I was carrying a bowl of hot soup in both hands. I suffered a miscarriage in my first trimester and sustained severe burns on my arm. Song Jiejie was terrified and burst into tears, throwing herself into my arms, apologizing and saying it wasn't on purpose, that she hadn't seen me coming from the kitchen when she pressed the remote. She was 10 years old that year, her face streaked with tears and filled with fear. I believed her, but after that, I was never able to conceive again. I didn't dwell on it, though, because I felt Jiejie was just as much my daughter back then. My daughter was very clingy, always by my side, calling mommy nonstop. When I was busy with something, she would rest her chin on me and look up at me. But my sister-in-law and mother-in-law would always, just when we were having the most fun, casually bring up her biological mother, Xia Yan. She talked about how much her mother doted on her when she was a child. Later on, Xia Yan, using the excuse of visiting her child, often had Song Jiejie stay with her on weekends. Gradually, Song Jiejie grew to dislike me more and more. Later, when she started middle school, her feelings towards me escalated from dislike to outright hatred. On the way back after the graduation celebration dinner, sitting in the back seat of the car, Song Jiejie told me she was going to a friend's house for a couple of days and wouldn't be coming home. Her request didn't come as a surprise to me, because the male lead in her life was about to make his entrance, that hoodlum named Feng Shui. At that moment, she was planning to accept Feng Shui's invitation to spend a couple of days at his family's mansion. In my past life, it was because I desperately tried to stop her from associating with that delinquent that she grew to resent me. In her first year of high school, her grades suddenly plummeted, and she secretly got a tattoo and started smoking. After asking her classmates, I found out she was dating a rich kid named Feng Shui. Once I discovered the problem, I immediately kept a much tighter rein on her. I also warned Feng Shui to stay away from my daughter. I knew someone like Feng Shui, a trust fund kid, would never marry a girl from a divorced and remarried family like my daughter. People with money care more about marrying within their own social circle, about alliances that bring mutual strength. I didn't want Song Jiejie to become just another one of his playthings. I also urged Song Jiejie to give it up and throw herself completely into her studies. Unexpectedly, 3 months later, Feng Shui went abroad, but Song Jiejie believed I was the one who forced Feng Shui to go overseas. Later, her studies gradually got back on track after I hired an expensive tutor for her. Yet, the moment she secured a guaranteed admission spot to Peking University, I was the first person she wanted to cast aside. As I was sent flying by the car, my dying thought was this: what did I ever do to her to make her hate me so much? Now, I have my answer. Some people are just ungrateful wretches. You can never win their loyalty. But for now, Song Jiejie is still a minor. As her guardian, I still have to consider her personal safety. Even though I knew from my past life that she was planning to stay overnight at Feng Shui's place, I still asked, "Where are you going, and with whom?" She replied with impatience, "Do you really think you're my mother? I told you, it's a friend." I pressed further, "Friends can be male or female. Are you going to a boyfriend's house or a girlfriend's house?" Seeing how aggressive I was, she suddenly changed her tune and said, "Actually, I just wanted to go visit my mom for a couple of days before school starts. I only lied because I was afraid you wouldn't let me go, then have her text me the details, when she's going, for how many days, and when she'll be brought back. I want it all spelled out clearly. I just didn't want her father and grandmother coming after me if anything happened to her." Song Jiejie muttered under her breath while texting on her smartwatch. "So annoying, can't even have a kid of your own. And all you do all day is boss me around." Through the car's rearview mirror, I saw Song Jiejie's look of utter disgust from the back seat. I was absolutely fuming. I really wanted to tell her, if it weren't for my legal obligation, she could fly to the moon for all I cared. When we got home, Song Yuan, who was supposed to be away on a business trip, was sitting on the sofa watching TV. Thinking back, he must have rushed home after getting a call from his ex-wife. Before that, I had called him several times. I'd hoped he could make time to come back for the college acceptance celebration, but he kept brushing me off, saying he was too busy with work. Yet, with just a few complaints from his ex-wife about him neglecting their daughter, He immediately dropped everything and hurried back. Goes to show the lasting power of a first love, doesn't it? Song Jejia saw her father and joyfully threw herself into his arms. Song Yuan stroked her head and said dotingly, I'm sorry, Jejia. Daddy was too busy with work and couldn't make it to your celebration. That's my fault. To make it up to you, tell me what gift you want, and Daddy will get it for you. Song Jejia shot me a challenging glance. She pouted at her father and pleaded, I want the latest model phone, and I also want to keep taking my painting classes. Song Yuan looked at me, seeking my opinion. Unlike before, I didn't try to stop him. I just said calmly, you're Jejia's father, it's your decision. All these years, I've only given Song Jejia a smartwatch for calls, and she has a dedicated tablet for her studies. I never gave her a phone because I found she gets addicted to it far too easily. Last time she got hold of a phone, she barely ate and wouldn't put it down even when her eyes were bloodshot from exhaustion. As for the painting class, it was just one of her many extracurricular activities. I paid for her to take lessons for 6 years, at a cost of 18,000 a year, but her painting skills were still a complete mess considering her heavy academic load in middle school. I withdrew her from the painting class. I swapped out her painting time for more expensive private tutoring sessions. Her grades were steadily improving, but she complained I was a tyrant, saying she felt like a puppet, so I stopped interfering. From then on, I respected all her choices as long as I didn't have to pay for it. Seeing Song Yuan remain silent and not agree to her request, Song Jejia was a bit put out. Dad, can you stop checking with her about everything? It's not her money. What business is it of hers? I scoffed. It's none of my business, really. As long as your father is willing to pay for it, I couldn't care less. Ridiculous. She doesn't actually think her education fees are paid by Song Yuan, does she? Her extracurricular tutoring and hobby classes cost over 100,000 a year. Could Song Yuan even afford that? If it weren't for me exhausting myself, spending all that money, and running myself ragged every single day taking her to all those cram schools, does she really think she could have been this year's top scorer in the high school entrance exam? The top scorer. My indifferent expression must have hit a nerve with Song Yuan. Suddenly, he snapped at me in a sarcastic tone. What's that supposed to mean? If I'm not the one paying for it, are you? And even if you did pay, you'd just be using the salary I hand over to you. It's true that Song Yuan gives me 7,000 yuan a month from his salary, but that money barely covers the daily expenses for this whole family. How on earth could there be anything left over to pay for Song Jejia's tutoring fees? Looking at the accusatory glare in Song Yuan's eyes, my heart sank. I couldn't be bothered to explain. It would just be a waste of breath. Fine, have it your way. Perfect. From now on, you can pay for all your daughter's expenses directly. Don't go through me. And you can keep your monthly salary of 7,000 yuan. Don't hand it over to me anymore. Hearing that I no longer wanted her father's salary, Song Jejia's face lit up with delight. Dad, you should give your salary to grandma from now on. That way, I won't have to put up with her sour looks every time I ask her for some pocket money. Song Yuan grew even more furious upon hearing this. Xia Qing, is this how you usually treat Jejia? You give her attitude just for asking for a little spending money. Have you been funneling all my salary to support your own family? Staring at the man with the twisted, furious face before me, I suddenly realized I didn't know him at all. The clothes and shoes Song Jejia wore were all designer brands. A single private tutoring session with a renowned teacher cost over 1,000 yuan. If he had any sense, he'd realize that 7,000 yuan wouldn't even cover the tip for the drinks at today's celebration banquet for his daughter's academic success. Disappointment doesn't even begin to describe how I'm feeling right now. Fine, Song Yuan, from today on, keep your father-daughter business to yourselves. I won't bother with your mess anymore. And if you cross me, don't blame me for losing my mind. With a sharp crack, I slammed the glass from the table onto the floor. Shards of glass flew everywhere, scattering like dancing sprites. Song Jejia and Song Yuan stood frozen in place. After 8 years of marriage to Song Yuan, this was the first time I'd ever exploded with such fury. Early the next morning, Song Jejia was standing in the middle of the living room, a small suitcase beside her. When she saw me step out of the bedroom, her mouth twisted into an involuntary sneer, her disgust for me plain to see. I have to say, she's really captured the essence of her grandmother's expression. Where's that baseball cap I bought in Korea? Find it for me, quick, I need to go out. Song Jejia's tone was, as always, utterly entitled. I gave her a dismissive once-over, then walked right past her toward the kitchen. She was so angry she stamped her foot behind me. What was that look you just gave me? And did you not hear me? I told you to find my baseball cap. I simply acted as if she were yelling at thin air, not even granting her a glance. What what are you two arguing about so early in the morning? How annoying. Song Yuan opened the door and came out of the study because I had blown up at them last night. Song Yuan hadn't returned to the master bedroom and had slept in the study instead when Song Jejia saw Song Yuan come out. It was as if she had spotted her savior. She rushed over to Song Yuan, grabbed his arm, and started tattling. Dad, you need to get this woman under control. I asked her to help me find my baseball cap, and she completely ignored me. Song Yuan looked thoroughly exasperated and sighed helplessly. Xia Qing, it's such a small thing. Couldn't you just help Jejia look for it? I curled my lip into a sarcastic smile. Oh, am I holding the hat? Can't she look for it herself? Song Jejia tilted her nose up in the air. Why should I? You live in this house, eating my dad's food, drinking my dad's drinks. Your main job is to take care of me. What's the big deal about asking you to find something? I looked at the stepdaughter standing across from me, who was nearly as tall as I was. This was the daughter I had doted on for so many years. I treated her like a princess and held her in the palm of my hand. I was never willing to let her do any housework, but in her eyes, I was nothing more than a servant who came to her house for food and drink, and taking care of her was something I was supposed to do. I snorted coldly. Then tell your dad to find a maid who doesn't eat or drink. I don't have time to wait on you two. Song Jejia was so angry her face turned dark purple. She looked at Song Yuan, hoping he would stand up for her and give me a brutal dressing down, but all she saw was her father with his head down, busily sending messages on his own, with no intention of helping her at all. She stamped her foot and stormed out carrying her suitcase. Song Jejia left with her luggage in hand, but Song Yuan seemed to make no move to stop her. He only looked up from his phone and glanced at her retreating back. Then he turned around with his phone in hand, preparing to head back to the study. I had intended to remind him to pay more attention to the company his daughter was keeping. I didn't want her to get into any trouble at such a young age, but the moment he turned, I caught a glimpse of his phone screen, still open to his WeChat chat with Xia Yan. The contact name at the top read, the kid's mom. I promptly kept my mouth shut. What does his daughter have to do with me? Anyway, if her own parents aren't concerned, why should I, the stepmother, bother? While the marriage lasts, I do have certain obligations towards my stepdaughter, but what if Song Yuan and I get divorced? Then they would be nothing more than strangers to me. Looking back on everything I sacrificed for their whole family in my past life, it really feels like it wasn't worth it to support Song Jejia. I pinched pennies on myself, to the point where I haven't set foot in a physical clothing store for the last 2 years. Everything just seemed too expensive, so I'd just hunt for bargains online. My sister-in-law was like a vampire, swooping in to plunder the place every other week. Not only did she help herself to my brand-name clothes and cosmetics, she'd even clean out all the meat and vegetables from the fridge. The money I had came partly from the dowry my parents gave me when I got married, and partly from the savings I'd accumulated from work, which I'd been using for short-term investments. In Song Yuan's eyes, even though we both came from the countryside, his parents had jobs in town, which made their family's circumstances superior to mine. But my parents leased nearly 1,000 acres of farmland, plus 2 hillsides, one for fruit trees and the other for ornamental plants and trees. I never hid any of this from Song Yuan, but he just said, no matter how much land they farm, they're still just peasants, aren't they? Do they even have social security? In his mind, his ex-wife Xia Yan's family was the ideal one. Both her parents were permanent employees in state-owned enterprises, enjoying social status, stable incomes, and secure pensions that wouldn't burden their children. My family, on the other hand, was just a humble farming household, our feet always caked in mud. I once wanted to cherish this marriage. I believed that if I treated them well, they would naturally return my sincerity, but reality slapped me hard in the face. The daughter I raised for 8 years kept calling me a homewrecker. The husband I thought was devoted to me was still secretly entangled with his ex-wife, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law only saw me as the family's free live-in maid. Perhaps it's time to put an end to all this. I went to each of Song Jejia's extracurricular classes to withdraw her enrollment and get a refund. Then I contacted all the private tutors to let them know their services were no longer needed. I also paid them any cancellation fees that were due. This included the overseas study program I had booked for her winter break in 10th grade, which I cancelled as well. In this life, now that I see their true colors, I won't be their sucker anymore. 3 days later, Song Jejia returned, beaming with joy. It seemed she had a wonderful time at Feng Shui's family villa. My mother-in-law, who had been traveling in Southeast Asia with her friends, also came back. The moment she stepped inside, she emptied a suitcase full of gifts. There were presents for Jejia, Song Yuan, my sister-in-law, and even for her square dancing partners, everyone had one except me. The family gathered happily, unwrapping presents, admiring their own and each other's gifts, chatting and laughing. I sat on the sofa to the side, watching them coldly. After what felt like an eternity, my mother-in-law finally remembered me. Xia Qing, go buy groceries early and cook a few more dishes. I'm starving. I couldn't get used to the food abroad these past couple of days. She sighed and added, look at the kind of daughter-in-law you are. I've been here for so long, and you haven't even offered me a glass of water. My sister-in-law chimed in from the side, sis, I'm craving lobster. Could you go to the seafood market and buy a few? Come back soon, we're all hungry. Lobster is nearly 200 yuan per jean these days. She sure knows how to pick the expensive stuff. I said calmly, if you're hungry, make it yourself, the kitchen is right there. It's not like I'm the only one in this house who knows how to cook. Song Yuan looked displeased. Xia Qing, how can you talk to my mother like that? You know she's not well. The smell of cooking oil makes her cough. What's the big deal about you making a meal? I shrugged and retorted sarcastically, without a care, if your mother's so unwell, why don't you cook? Why doesn't your sister cook? What's this, outsourcing your filial duties, born without a silver spoon but acting like a delicate flower? What, did your family never cook or see a wisp of smoke before I married in? My mother-in-law's face darkened completely. Furious, she pointed a finger at my nose and launched into a tirade of abuse. After her rant, she ordered her son, a daughter-in-law like this is unacceptable, hurry up and get her out of my house. Song Yuan shot me a look of utter disappointment. He turned to reassure his mother, saying, Mom, let's eat out today instead of at home. Xiaoqing's been a bit tired lately, let her rest. Song Jiejia linked arms with her grandmother and gently pulled her towards the door. Grandma, I forgot to tell you, my mom knew you were coming back today and just called to invite you for a meal. Dad and Auntie should come too. After we eat, my mom can drop me off at my violin lesson. You should come and watch me play. My teacher says they're preparing me for the provincial performance. Then, she whispered into her grandmother's ear. She's been acting a bit crazy these past couple of days. Keep your distance and don't provoke her. They strode out, not a single one of them acknowledging me. I gave a self-deprecating smile. Of course, why would her real mother ever invite me to dinner? After the family went out, the living room fell quiet again. I opened my laptop and drafted a divorce agreement. Looking at the agreement, so simple it was only a single page, a pang of bitterness washed over me. Even though Song Yuan and I had been married for 8 years, there was shockingly little to divide. The house was his from before the marriage, our daughter was biologically his, and the 7,000 salary he handed over each month was almost entirely spent on his family. I had no idea if he had any other savings. The only things to split were the 2 cars. Looking back on these 8 years of marriage, all I had to show for it was a drained savings account of several $100,000 and 8 years of unpaid labor as their live-in maid. I couldn't think of a single thing that had actually benefited me. I covered my face, wanting nothing more than to have a good cry for myself, but I swallowed it back down. Given a second chance at life, now that I know what's wrong, I have to turn back in time. They're the ones who should be crying, not me. That evening, Song Jiejia barged in, kicking the door open. What gives you the right to cancel my violin lessons without telling me? Don't you know how important they are right now? With my performance coming up, I kept my eyes on my phone and replied airily, oh, we're out of money, so I canceled them. My indifferent attitude made her even angrier. What right do you have to stop my lessons? My dad paid for those. Oh, well then, you'd better get him to keep paying for them. Song Jiejia was momentarily speechless, but she kept arguing. Since my dad gives you his entire salary, it's only natural you should pay for these things. Otherwise, what's the point of giving it to you, so you can send it back to your peasant parents in the countryside? It's true that Song Jiejia's maternal grandparents are city folks, and her father is now an executive at a big company, but if you trace any family line back far enough, who hasn't come from farming stock? I don't know who filled her head with such prejudice. I have no interest in arguing with you. If you're so capable, go ask your dad for the tuition money yourself, if he's willing to give it to you. I found out a few days ago that Song Yuan only bought her a phone and never actually signed her up for the art class. A phone costing a few thousand can last through all 3 years of high school. An art class is a different story altogether. Not only is the tuition nearly 20,000 a year, but you also have to buy a ton of art supplies. Clearly, with the brains that got her the top score in the high school entrance exam, Song Jiejia couldn't possibly have failed to see this. The next few days, she only truly panicked after discovering I had cancelled all her extracurriculars and tutoring. She threw countless tantrums at me, but I consistently gave her the cold shoulder. I just told her everything would have to wait until her father got back. Don't you hate me? Well, have some backbone then. Don't try to have it both ways. You can't bite the hand that feeds you. But she only made a fuss for a few days. Now she's completely absorbed in playing mobile games. For a person, climbing upward requires using both hands and feet, exerting every ounce of effort. But going downhill, that might just take a few tumbles. Song Yuan is away on a business trip lately. He's either on a business trip or on his way to one. My mother-in-law kept trying to pick fights with me at home, but I just rolled my eyes and brushed her off. Since I'm preparing for a divorce, I didn't want to waste my breath arguing with her. But when my sister-in-law helped herself to another one of my gold bracelets, a wedding gift from my mother, I called the police. The police reviewed our home security footage and found that my mother-in-law had helped her steal it. I refused to settle the matter privately, but as the saying goes, not even an honest official can settle family disputes, and I still live with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law insisted she didn't know the bracelet was mine. My sister-in-law claimed she was just borrowing it to wear for a bit, not stealing it. In the end, the whole matter fizzled out with her returning my bracelet, undergoing a reprimand, and writing a letter of guarantee. By this point, I had burned all bridges with everyone in the Song family. 2 days later, Song Yuan finally returned. Judging by his physique, the business trip couldn't have been too taxing. He'd put on a noticeable amount of weight and had an overall greasy aura about him. As soon as he walked in, I handed him the divorce papers. He clutched the document, his brow furrowed tightly. Xia Qing, there has to be a limit to your theatrics. Lately, you've been throwing things. Arguing with my mother, even calling the police. I put up with it all because you've done such a good job raising Jejia, but look what you've done now. Jejia told me you cancelled all her extracurriculars and tutoring sessions. Are you seriously gambling with her future? Is it because she's not your biological daughter? I nodded without hesitation. Yes, that's exactly it, precisely because she's not my biological child. Honesty is always the ultimate weapon. Song Yuan was stunned. He had been gearing up for a guilt trip, but he never expected me to admit it so openly. For a moment, his mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The extracurricular classes are open for enrollment. I can sign her up, and so can you. Go ahead and do it yourself right now. I won't stop you. I have all the tutors' contact information right here. I'll send them to your phone now, and you can reach out to them yourself. As I spoke, I opened my phone and sent the contact cards for each tutor to his account. One by one, I finally saw this man for who he was. Not only did he outsource his filial duties, but he even outsourced raising his own child. I gave him one final reminder: sign the divorce papers and get them back to me as soon as possible. If you don't, that's fine. We'll just go through the legal proceedings. It'll take 2 years at most, and I can afford to wait you out. Even as I turned and walked away, Song Yuan was still standing there, mouth agape, looking utterly stunned. In my past life, right up until my death, I had only ever believed it was Song Jejia who despised me. I had never once suspected Song Yuan. Before I died, I heard Song Jejia's venomous words, but I never heard how Song Yuan responded to her. But when I started paying closer attention, I realized that Song Jejia's behavior towards me was essentially condoned by Song Yuan's silence. When Song Jejia would yell and scream at me, Song Yuan would appear to be mediating, but in reality, he was always forcing me to back down. Just as I expected, Song Yuan refused to sign. Of course he wouldn't let go of a cash cow like me. All these years, he's been playing dumb. There's no way he doesn't know how much I've sacrificed for this family. It doesn't matter. I'm going to hire a lawyer to file for divorce. If the first attempt fails, I'll try a second time. If the second fails, I'll go for a third. This marriage is over, no matter what. Before Song Jejia's school term started, the whole family cornered me. They were still clinging to their delusion of me becoming Jejia's live-in tutor. Sister-in-law, sis, Jejia is Ivy League material. If she doesn't get into Tsinghua or Peking University, it'll be entirely your fault. Mother-in-law, it's really no trouble. You'd just rent a place nearby, cook some meals, do a bit of laundry. You'd practically be on a vacation. Song Yuan, you also graduated from a top university. See if you can tutor her. If that really doesn't work, we can always hire a few more tutors for Jejia later. I wasn't panicked at all. I calmly took out the contract I had just signed from my bag and waved it at them. Sorry, I just signed a contract to lease and farm 500 mu of farmland. I'm going to work the fields. I don't have time to look after your kid. The four of them stared at me, speechless. I wasn't lying. Just the day before, my senior and I had indeed just signed a 10-year lease to farm 500 mu of land in my previous life. This had happened too. My senior said the government was going to establish a model planting field, a project in cooperation with the Agricultural Sciences Academy. He asked if I was interested in joining him. Because he knew my parents also made their living by contracting land for farming. I agonized over it for a long time, but in the end, I still turned it down. Back then, I was thinking that a child only takes the college entrance exam once, but there will always be chances to farm. In reality, a project like this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, if you miss it. It's gone. Later on, that model demonstration field really took off and even partnered with several agricultural universities. Agriculture is, and always will be, the foundation of everything. So, in this life, when my senior asked if I was interested in collaborating, I agreed on the spot. I guess the blood of a farmer has always run in my veins. Just talking about farming gets me excited. But what about Jejia? Song Yuan looked at the contract in my hand, then back at me. I replied coldly, isn't she moving into the dorm? I remember her saying so herself at the celebration dinner. All our relatives and friends can vouch for that. Proof. For once, Song Jejia and I were on the same side. Yes, it was my request. I don't need her to be my study companion. If you insist on her following me, I won't go to school. The other three people looked at each other in bewilderment. I understood Song Jejia. If I were to accompany her as a study partner, how would she conveniently date Feng Shui? After spending those few days together at the villa, the two of them had probably officially become a couple. Naturally, she wouldn't want me around. Lately, I've been busy with soil treatment and improvement for the farmland, preparing for planting. My senior and I were either running to the Agricultural Science Academy or out in the fields, with no time at all to deal with the Song family's affairs. After I hired a lawyer to file for divorce, I moved out of the Song family home and settled into a small cottage near the farm. Just as I was planning to turn the cottage into my dream garden, filled with flowers and homegrown produce, I received a call from Song Jejia's high school homeroom teacher. The teacher informed me that Song Jejia had not only been skipping classes but also staying out overnight, and her grades were a serious concern. She had been sleeping through her classes every day since the term started. It wasn't until a dorm check 2 days ago that they discovered she'd been hiding under her blanket playing on her phone every night. Her teacher spoke with a grave tone and urged me to come to the school as soon as possible. As I am still Song Jejia's legal guardian on paper, I agreed to the teacher's request. I called Song Yuan and asked him to go to the school. He said he was away on a business trip and begged me to handle it. Off on another business trip. In my past life, I was always busy with tutoring during this time, so I never knew if he was even home. Looking back now, it seems a bit odd. I went to the school. The homeroom teacher also called Song Jejia to the office. When Song Jejia saw me sitting in the chair next to her homeroom teacher, her face immediately fell. What are you doing at my school? The homeroom teacher said. Jejia, I asked your mother to come in so we could discuss your recent behavior at school. Song Jejia obviously knew what this was about and fell silent, not uttering a word. The homeroom teacher continued. Jejia's mom. We've always believed in a partnership between home and school. You can't just hand your child over to us and be done with it. We need to pay attention to the child's psychological and emotional issues. The homeroom teacher glanced at Song Jejia, seeming a little reluctant to say it outright. It's just first love. After all, as people who've been there ourselves, we can understand. But staying out all night is not something someone your age should be doing. The homeroom teacher spoke with deep meaning. Song Jejia's face flushed red, as if it might start bleeding. I put on a look of utter heartbreak. Jejia, how did you end up like this? Back then, Mom wanted to stay with you at school to supervise your studies, but you flat out refused, saying you could take care of yourself. Look at yourself now. Teacher, don't worry, I'll rent a place near the school right away, and I'll definitely keep a close eye on her. From now on, I'll drop her off at school in the morning and pick her up at night. I'll never let her be like this again. I promised the teacher with absolute confidence. The homeroom teacher nodded in satisfaction. I believe you. The fact that you raised the top scorer in the high school entrance exam proves your heart is in the right place when it comes to your child's education. But Song Jejia was furious. She was likely completely lost in the romantic fantasy Feng Shui had spun for her. How could she possibly accept me coming in to ruin things for them? She glared at me with pure venom. I don't need you to interfere. You're not my mother, so why are you so nosy? The homeroom teacher's eyes widened in shock, her face a picture of astonishment. She said to the homeroom teacher, Teacher, I'll correct my own mistakes. Please don't call this woman to the school anymore. She's not my mother. She's the homewrecker who came between my parents. Besides, she's already divorced from my dad. The homeroom teacher seemed stunned. As if the information was too much to process, I gave the teacher an apologetic look, then copied Song Jejia's biological mother's and father's phone numbers onto a blank piece of paper and handed it to her. Teacher, here are her real parents' numbers. I'll leave it in your capable hands from now on. With that, I wiped the tears from the corner of my eye and walked out of the office. Once outside the office, a smile played on my lips. I was confident I wouldn't be receiving any more of those annoying calls before my divorce was finalized. Now I could finally focus on my farming. Before I knew it, another 3 months had passed. As expected, my first petition for divorce was dismissed, but by then, I had already noticed something was off with Song Yuan. Once, when I went back to the Song residence to collect my things, I found medication for threatened miscarriage in a drawer of Song Yuan's study. It had been years since my own miscarriage, so it definitely wasn't mine. I began following the clues, searching for any shred of evidence. Finally, I found the proof in Song Yuan's dashcam footage. The medication belonged to Xia Yan. The child she was carrying was Song Yuan's. In the dashcam recording, she mentioned going abroad for a blood test that confirmed it was a boy. I knew she had gotten divorced a couple of years prior. Rumor has it she was tricked into gambling in Macau and lost over 2 million. Her ex-husband paid off her debts, but then divorced her. She left the marriage with nothing, and the son she gave birth to stayed with her ex-husband's family. To my surprise, she circled back and started grazing on Song Yuan's pasture again. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law seemed to have gotten wind of this news as well. Before, they would call me every other day, berating me for being an unfaithful wife, for not coming home, and for gallivanting around outside with God knows which man. Now, the calls have completely vanished without a trace, but just as well, it leaves me in peace and quiet. I thought seeing Song Yuan and Xia Yan getting together would devastate me, would drive me mad. Unexpectedly, I was eerily calm, as if all of this was bound to happen sooner or later. I suppose the accumulated disappointment had long since reached its peak. The moment the truth was laid bare, I instead felt a sense of release. This evidence significantly expedited my divorce proceedings. My divorce lawyer was a sharp, capable, and clear-headed woman. After obtaining the evidence, she meticulously pieced everything together. For the court hearing, she prepared a full 8-page defense statement. She laid out the facts and arguments, proving that my marriage to Song Yuan had reached its end. There was absolutely no possibility of further mediation this time. The court ruled in favor of granting our divorce. After that, I focused all my energy on my 500 acres of farmland and my rustic cottage. We grow organic produce. In addition to supplying specific supermarkets, we also collaborate with top agricultural live streamers to sell our products online. We established our own agricultural technology company and partnered with several agricultural universities to offer internship opportunities for soon-to-be graduates. Of course, we also host visits from elementary school students for agricultural tours, educating them on the importance of farming. Agriculture and farmers should never be taken for granted. My senior and I eventually got together. As feelings grew over time, it's strange, for years, we had no luck trying to conceive. A year after marrying my senior, I gave birth to a lovely, beautiful daughter. During a meal with friends, Song Yuan's name came up. They said that not long after our divorce, he remarried Xia Yan. Xia Yan gave birth to a son, and the whole family treats her like a princess, catering to her every whim. Her mother-in-law does her laundry and cooking, and her sister-in-law looks after the baby. My friends say Song Yuan is now worn down like a workhorse, with none of his former vigor and ambition left. As for Song Jiejia, she's become a marginal figure. No one cared about her affairs anymore. Forget about expensive things like extracurriculars or private tutors. Even when she asked her mother for money to enter a competition, she'd get a scolding. Her mother would say things like, "All the family's assets will go to your brother. Any money you make should be saved to buy him a house and pay for his wedding. What's the point of university?" she'd say. "It's better to start working and earning money early." I couldn't believe these words came from a woman with a modern education, but then again, it was none of my business. After all, it was her own child. She could raise her however she wanted. I didn't see Song Jiejia again until many years later. The girl who should have been freely roaming a university campus was now just a waitress in a restaurant. I was having a dinner at a restaurant with a group of new university interns from the company's agriculture division. The person serving our table turned out to be Song Jiejia. When she saw me, she froze for a moment and instinctively blurted out, "Mom." I didn't answer her, just took a sip of the tea in front of me. All eyes were on her. She looked flustered, nervously clutching the restaurant's branded apron. One of the guys in our group shouted out, "Song Jiejia, is that you? What are you doing working as a waitress?" Song Jiejia glanced at the guy. Her face instantly flushed crimson, and she bolted out the door. Everyone then turned their questioning gazes toward the guy. I also looked at him. He cleared his throat and began, his tone taking on a storyteller's cadence. "That's Song Jiejia. She was the top scorer in the city's high school entrance exams. Back then, the 2 advanced classes at our school fought over her. Their homeroom teachers almost came to blows. They nearly got into a fight. Her grades were outstanding at first, but then, for some reason. She got into a relationship way too young. The young man paused here and let out a soft sigh. Then the rumor spread that she was pregnant. Her mom came to the school, making a huge scene in public, demanding that Coward step up and pay her family compensation. The whole thing became common knowledge throughout the entire school. She ended up dropping out. A murmur of pity rippled through the crowd. The young man sighed again and continued, "It really is a shame. I haven't seen her in years. Never imagined I'd run into her again, working here as a waitress. Actually, I had a crush on her back then." He gave a self-deprecating laugh, and the others around him chuckled teasingly, and with that, the matter was dropped. After the meal, the group of students said they wanted to take a walk by the river to see the night view. I watched them with a smile, thinking to myself how wonderful it is to be young. I turned to head towards the parking lot, only to see Song Jeja standing there with red, teary eyes. I looked her over carefully, though only in her 20s. Her face was etched with weariness. Her once delicate, fair complexion now seemed marred by blemishes. Her hands were clasped together. Fidgeting uneasily, she looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. "Mom," I turned away, trying to leave her side, but she grabbed my arm and shouted at me, "Why are you trying to ruin me? Just because I'm not your biological daughter?" I gave a bitter smile. "If believing that makes you feel better, then go ahead and believe it." Her eyes grew redder, her face twisting with fury. "Why did you stop insisting on accompanying me to my study sessions? Why did you cancel all my tutoring? Why didn't you stop me when you knew I was dating Feng Shui?" By the end, she was practically spitting the words through gritted teeth. I reminded her, "Enough, you were the one who kept saying I'm not your mother, that I shouldn't control you. Have you forgotten? You were the one constantly reminding me that you're not my biological daughter. I reached out to you countless times. It was you who chose to fall into the abyss." Her lips began to tremble uncontrollably, and large tears rolled down her cheeks. Her legs gave way, and she collapsed to the floor, sobbing. "But it wasn't supposed to be like this. I should be at Peking University right now. You're the one who should be dead." I looked down at her, my gaze cold and detached. "So, I wasn't the only one who was reborn. Song Jeja had been reborn too." She suddenly burst into loud laughter. "All of this must be fake. It's all a dream. The truth is, I got into Peking University, you got hit by a car and died, and we received a huge compensation payout. Ha ha ha. Yes, that's exactly what happened." A crowd had gathered around us, watching. Even with a second chance at life, she managed to ruin such a promising situation. I was speechless. I didn't want to engage with her anymore, nor did I want to be the center of gossip. I turned and walked straight towards my car. A heart-wrenching cry came from behind me. "Mom, Mom, Mom, I regret it. If I could do it all over again, I'd listen to you. I promise." I shut the car door, sealing out the noise of the outside world. Watching the girl sobbing uncontrollably on the ground, my mind drifted back to that summer over a decade ago. That little girl, so small and grubby, hiding behind her grandmother. She asked timidly, "Who are you?" "I'm your mom." She tilted her little head, thought for a moment, then rushed into my arms. She cried out with joy. "Mom, how did everything change after that?" The end. Story 2. It seems that my husband is going through a breakup. For 3 consecutive days, every night he has been holding his phone, looking at the chat records with his little girlfriend and silently shedding tears. I just got back from a date with my young boyfriend. Seeing him like this, I leaned over to his ear with a smug look and whispered gently, "You're going through a breakup. Haha, mine hasn't broken up yet." The next second, I received a breakup text message from my young boyfriend. After seeing the message from my young boyfriend, I lay on the sofa and cried my eyes out. My 190 height, 6-pack abs, handsome college guy. He also has a quarter of British blood. Just thinking that I won't be able to kiss those foreign-looking lips anymore, I cried even louder. Pei Yenji, sitting opposite me on the sofa, looked at me for a long time, slightly frowning. "What did you say in my ear just now?" I paused for a moment, and immediately held back my sobs. My young boyfriend is already gone, and I can't lose my husband who earns hundreds of millions a year. So I shook my head silently. I didn't say anything. Pei Yenji looked at my back lying on the sofa and didn't say anything more. The next second, only after I heard the sound of him stepping on slippers and going upstairs, did I dare to cry out again. In the past, I dared not tell my parents when I was in a relationship, and now I dare not tell my husband. Women, after all, have regrets throughout their lives. Pei Yenji and I have known each other for 7 years. From high school to college graduation. After graduation, we immediately got married. All our classmates said that we were a model of a successful campus love story, but no one knows that in our 3-year marriage, Pei Yanji had an affair for 2.5 years. The other party was a new intern in the company. Since I accidentally came across her Weibo account where Pei Yanji and she were watching fireworks in Hong Kong, they were passionately kissing, and the caption read, "I can't stand by your side openly, but I can completely occupy your heart." I knew then what it felt like to be cuckolded. These days, mistresses can talk the talk. I cried like a loser for a long time that day. In the end, I chose to like and follow her. Later, when Pei Yanji went to take a bath and forgot to lock his phone, I found out that the girl's name was Shen Yan, and she had just graduated from college that night. I browsed Shen Yan's Weibo more than 3,000 times. After being with Pei Yanji, Shen Yan's Weibo update frequency also increased, almost one post a day. Either she went skiing with Pei Yanji, checked in at a star-rated restaurant, or Pei Yanji would give her jewelry necklaces. And those days, Pei Yanji told me that he was on a business trip in City S. When he came back, he even brought me a gift, a gem-studded hairpin, a free gift from buying luxury goods. Looking at Pei Yanji, who was about to go to the bathroom to take a bath, I cried and said that I also wanted to be a mistress. Pei Yanji looked at me coldly. After a long time, he frowned and sneered, "Lin Shi, what are you up to this time?" The words were on the tip of my tongue, but then I thought of the living expenses he gave me every month, and I swallowed them back. I could only slink back to my own room later, when my best friend, who is a lawyer, found out. She told me that the things Pei Yanji bought for Shen Yan were all purchased with their post-marriage property. I felt like I was at a loss, so I turned to online dating and found a young boyfriend. My young boyfriend is cute and strong. The first time I took him from Tsinghua University to the hotel, he had plenty of strength and tricks. I was hooked. After all, since Pei Yanji had an affair, he proposed to sleep in separate rooms. A 26-year-old woman is in her prime of sexual desire. To reward my young boyfriend, I imitated Pei Yanji. I bought an apartment to keep him. As soon as Pei Yanji left home, I would drive to the apartment to see my little canary. My little canary is perfect in every way. He's just too energetic. He broke 2 beds. The boss of the furniture store knows me. She always looks at me with envy. He can also cook. Every time I enter the door, I can see him wearing an apron with nothing underneath, busy in the kitchen. His superior back muscles are covered with a thin layer of sexy sweat. He exudes the smell of a doting husband and a cute puppy. Everything was going well. Pei Yanji and I each had our own happiness. When my best friend knew about it, she just sighed and said, "It's better for the 4 of you to live a good life than anything else." Until 3 days ago, Pei Yanji started coming back frequently. He sat on the sofa with his phone, his brows tightly knitted. I even saw a glimmer of light in his eyes. Combined with Shen Yan's new Weibo, I knew that he was going through a breakup, but I didn't mind. I still dressed up as innocent as possible every day and went on dates with my young boyfriend. When I came back, my lipstick was smeared, and my skirt was in a mess. Pei Yanji didn't even look at me. In my opinion, he was extremely sad. I didn't comfort him. I was afraid that if he fell in love with me again, it would be troublesome. After all, my heart only belongs to my young boyfriend now. So when I came back today, seeing him like this, I thoughtfully played a song called After I Leave for him. Then I went to the bathroom to chat with my young boyfriend and put on an expensive facial mask. By the way, when I came out, I saw that Pei Yanji was still in the same miserable state. I couldn't help myself. I leaned over to his ear and said, "She doesn't want you anymore." While crying my heart out, I sent a message to my best friend. He wants to break up with me. I'm so sad. I heard that eating yogurt and fried chicken together can cause poisoning. I have the yogurt. I just need the fried chicken. My best friend Shin Bye replied with a 6. "I don't even want to expose you. Are you really going through a breakup?" I sent her a screenshot of the breakup message my young boyfriend just sent me. "Really broken up? Well, find another one someday, okay? I'll order fried chicken for you." After eating the fried chicken with tears in my eyes, I went upstairs to the bathroom, turned on the Harman Kardon speaker, and played a song while taking a bath. I felt that I was more affectionate than a dog. I cried again. As soon as I opened the bathroom door and came out, I saw Pei Yanji sitting on the sofa chair with a paper document in his hand. His eyes fell on my slightly red eyes, and he paused slightly. "Did you cry?" "Why?" I sighed. "I miss my grandma." "I'm such a liar." Pei Yanji saw me crying pitifully, and a hint of tenderness appeared in his eyes. "I'll go back with you to visit in a few days. Don't cry." I nodded. Pei Yanji seemed to have something to say to me, but seeing me like this, he still frowned and left. I heaved a sigh of relief and called my young boyfriend. "Can we not break up?" The voice on the other end was magnetic and tinged with anger. "Not break up? Do you want your husband to support me?" I thought for a moment. If he can support 1, he can support 2. Supporting 3 isn't out of the question either. As if knowing what I was thinking, Qin Xiao laughed angrily. "You wish? I'm not going to be the other man." My eyes turned red. Early the next morning, I opened my phone and saw Qin Xiao sent me a video. In the sunlight, He was shirtless, doing sit-ups on the fitness equipment. I didn't know what he meant. I just sent a question mark. He didn't reply. I felt an indescribable sense of loss in my heart. I didn't even have the mood to pick out clothes. I casually put on a loose knitted cardigan set with a white vest inside when I went downstairs. Pei Yenji, surprisingly, hadn't gone to the company yet. I looked at the time. It was already 10 o'clock. Seeing me come downstairs like this, Pei Yenji raised his eyebrows. I didn't have the mood to pay attention to him. My mind was full of my young boyfriend's sit-up movements. Absent-mindedly, I used my chopsticks to mash the black truffle fried rice in the bowl into a paste. Pei Yenji finally realized something was wrong. What's wrong with you? My tone was listless, and I was almost in tears. Nothing. He seemed to sense that I was in a bad mood, or maybe he finally remembered that a few days ago was our wedding anniversary and that day, he and Shen Yan went to the hot spring resort. He didn't come back all night. I only vaguely remembered when I saw the calendar, but it didn't matter anymore. A hint of guilt flashed in Pei Yenji's eyes. There's not much to do in the company today. I'll take you to the auction at noon. I sighed. It's better to spend his money if it's available. Love is gone. I can't not take the money. On the way Pei Yenji drove me to the auction. I didn't look at him. I stared blankly out of the window, thinking of every bit of He Qinxiao. I shed tears. He's so capable. How could I let him go? I finally knew what it felt like to go through a breakup. What's more, my husband was right next to me, and I didn't dare to cry out loud. There was no music playing in the car. I wiped away my tears, worried that I wouldn't be able to hold back and Pei Yenji would find out, so I took my phone, connected to the Bluetooth, and played a song called Happy Breakup. Pei Yenji, what on earth is wrong with you? I really forgot that it was our wedding anniversary that day. I sighed. Nothing. I've just been missing my grandma lately. I'm such a liar. Pei Yenji looked at me with a puzzled expression. If you miss your grandma, why are you listening to this song? I didn't explain. Pei Yenji didn't ask any further questions. When we arrived at the auction, I kept raising my sign and bought a lot of things. When I got home, I went to bed right away. In the middle of the night, Qinxiao sent me a message. Sister, I miss you. I rubbed my eyes, changed my clothes and went to the apartment. When I got there, Qinxiao looked at me, his eyes full of heartache. He himself had lost some weight, and his jawline was more defined. His eyes were red, and he looked extremely wronged. He didn't say anything, just hugged me tightly. It's my fault. I shook my head, looking at his handsome face so close. My fingers moved up along the hem of his clothes. He took a deep breath, somewhat helplessly. His beautiful thin lips opened and closed. Do you like me, or my body? I didn't even hear what he was saying. I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. I was going through a breakup. And then we got back together. So a few days later, I was in high spirits, but I saw Pei Yenji sitting on the sofa, his brows tightly knitted, his face gloomy, and his eyes full of pity. My husband was going through a breakup and I was in a passionate relationship. Seeing him like this, and thinking of the high living expenses he gave me every year, I still sighed and walked up to pat him on the shoulder. I was about to comfort him. Unexpectedly, I saw that what he was holding in his hand was my phone. On the screen was the video of Qinxiao shirtless, doing sit-ups that he sent me. The most awkward thing is when the air suddenly goes quiet. Pei Yenji's face was extremely ugly. He looked up at me coldly. My head was in a mess. No wonder people say that to maintain a good marriage, you shouldn't look at each other's phones. Now I can only be glad that he didn't see the chat between me and my best friend. Otherwise, his face would probably be even uglier. The reason why I've never looked at Pei Yenji's phone all these years is that I'm worried he'll look at mine. At the same time, my phone's notification sound rang. It was a new message from Qinxiao, a photo of him wearing a black leather joker collar. Seeing that Pei Yenji was about to speak, I quickly snatched the phone and sent a voice message to Qinxiao. Don't send me messages anymore. I'm not looking for male models. Pei Yenji looked at my blushing face and slightly frowned. Male models. I nodded. When Chi-Chi's new bar opened, I accidentally soiled his clothes when I went to support her, so I added his WeChat to transfer money to him. I had only left my phone for 1 minute. I bet he didn't scroll up. Pei Yenji didn't say anything. He just looked at me for a long time. His eyes fell on the photo of us on the cabinet behind me, as if thinking of something. Don't randomly add people in the future. I nodded perfunctorily and watched him pick up his coat and leave. As soon as the car left, I immediately called Qinxiao. He answered quickly on the other end, but his magnetic voice was full of gritted teeth anger. Lin Shi, who the hell do you call a male model? I could only coax him, calling him baby one after another. After a long time, I finally managed to soothe him. Sister, I want to see you now. Ah, men, just now he was calling me Lin Shi. I looked down and saw a new Weibo post from Shen Yan. In the photo was Qinxiao's car. He probably wouldn't be coming back tonight. I nodded. Then let's go to the apartment. He seemed to get angry again. Do I only deserve to go to the apartment? In the end, Qin Xiao and I went to a 5-star hotel, then we went to a Chinese restaurant in the city center for dinner. The private room was separated by a screen. After I ordered the food, the voices of Pei Yanji and his friend came from behind. Chi-Chi went to the bar again. You know, there are all male models in that bar. I heard that sister-in-law also went there when it opened last time. Pei Yanji nodded. She even added WeChat. Lu Feng, what? You can bear this. Pei Yanji's voice was casual. She wouldn't do anything. Lu Feng sighed. Yeah, you've been together for 7 years. Sister-in-law is head over heels in love with you. She wouldn't be like you. After saying that, he seemed to realize he had said the wrong thing. He continued, but what if sister-in-law finds out about you and Shen Yin? There came the sound of Pei Yanji picking up a wine glass from the other side. It's okay, her parents have passed away. Without me, she has nowhere to go. It seemed that they had started eating over there. I lowered my head vaguely. I remembered that when my parents passed away during the college entrance examination, Pei Yanji was worried that something would happen to me and followed me every day. Later, when I proposed to live in the dormitory, Pei Yanji carried my suitcase and wash basin and sent me to the dormitory building. It was raining that day, and his trouser legs were completely soaked. He said, Lin Shi, I will be good to you for the rest of my life. Later, 2 boys in the class asked me with a sneer, Hey, Lin Shi, what does it feel like to have your parents die? My mom said it might be because you're jinxing them. The passing of my relatives had cast a continuous shadow over my heart, but their words stabbed deeply into my heart somehow. Pei Yanji found out about what happened that day. He found those 2 boys and fought them desperately. Try saying something about her parents again. That young boy knew exactly how much pain I was in, but now, it was him who stabbed me with a dagger. Qin Xiao immediately stood up, and I quickly grabbed his hand. His eyes were red with anger, and his handsome face was full of grievance. Sister, you still want to protect him? What's so good about him? Am I not more handsome than him? Am I not better at? I quickly covered his mouth with my hand, but he subconsciously bit my fingertip. I let out a yelp, quickly closed my mouth, and looked nervously behind the screen. Behind the screen came Pei Yanji's disdainful chuckle. You fainting really allows anyone in these days. Then he got up and left with Lu Feng. Apparently, he didn't recognize my voice, but he hesitated for a second outside the curtain before leaving. I heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Xiao, however, looked extremely aggrieved. Am I that embarrassing to you? I gave him a look. What do you think? He coughed lightly, slightly raised his chin, and said, the one who isn't loved is the mistress. The waiter who had just lifted the curtain to serve the dishes heard this, and his eyes widened in shock. He served the dishes extremely slowly. Only when he saw that neither Qin Xiao nor I said anything did he leave with a look of regret. I pinched Qin Xiao's hand. Keep your voice down. Is this something to be proud of? Qin Xiao blushed. It seemed he realized something. He lowered his head slightly. I'm being despicable. That night, Pei Yanji called me. After learning that I was at home, he hung up in a hurry. Out of the blue, he transferred a large sum of money to me. I accepted it without any psychological burden. On Weibo, Shen Yan updated a new post. From now on, it's a family of 3. I opened the picture. It was a photo of Pei Yanji accompanying her to the hospital for a prenatal check-up late at night. Just as I was about to exit, Shen Yan sent me a private message. I know you've seen it. These posts are only visible to you. It's strange that you haven't made a fuss about divorce with Ian after seeing all these over the years. It's a pity, though. He's already promised to divorce you. I sneered and sent all these posts and screenshots to Pei Yanji. I might as well strike first. After all, I was planning to file for divorce these days. The divorce agreement my best friend helped me draw up was naturally more beneficial to me. Let's get a divorce. I've already prepared the divorce agreement. I'll have someone send it to you later. Let's split the property evenly. Pei Yanji only said one word, okay. It was at this time that Qin Xiao sent me a message. It was a photo of him in swimming trunks by the pool. Water droplets dripped from his hair onto his chest and continued downward. Just as I was about to reply, he immediately withdrew it. Sorry, I sent it to the wrong person. Sent it to the wrong person. Who was he originally going to send it to? I miss you, sister. I simply sent him an address. Then come over, he replied, entering your house. Is that appropriate? I was busy going to take a bath. I urged him, whatever you want. When I came out of the bathroom, the doorbell rang every now and then. I went downstairs and opened the door. There stood Qin Xiao in a black sweatshirt. The neighbor across the street opened the courtyard door. He immediately slipped in and locked the gate. As soon as he entered the door, he couldn't wait to bite my lips. I was so breathless from his embrace that I said intermittently, go to the room. When he hooked Down the strap of my nightgown. Suddenly, footsteps were heard outside the door. I got up and put on a knitted shawl. Looking downstairs, I saw Pei Yanji's car. Qin Xiao seemed to know who it was and was about to walk towards the balcony. I quickly grabbed him. If the neighbors saw him like this, they might think something was wrong right now. His shirt was messy, and it was obvious what was going on. If it got posted online, it would be a big scandal. He thought for a moment, then quickly turned around and hid in the closet. He closed the closet door so fast that I didn't have time to stop him. He even said to me considerately, "Sister, I won't make things difficult for you." Me, what's with that aggrieved look in his eyes? When Pei Yanji came in and saw me like this, he frowned slightly. "What's wrong with your neck?" I mumbled. "I was bitten by a mosquito." Pei Yanji didn't say anything. Suddenly, there was a thud from the closet. Pei Yanji looked puzzled. "Is there someone in there?" If Qin Xiao had sat there openly, I wouldn't have been so nervous, but he quickly hid in the closet. Now if he was caught, it would be extremely embarrassing. Besides, I didn't know if Pei Yanji had signed the divorce agreement yet. I mumbled, "No one, there's no one there." Pei Yanji didn't believe me and rushed forward to open the closet door. Inside, Qin Xiao was wearing a slightly see-through white shirt, with a thin layer of sweat on his forehead. At first glance, it was obvious that something improper was going on. I slapped my forehead. I stammered an explanation. "He's here to fix the water pipe." Pei Yanji clearly didn't believe me. "Why is he hiding in the closet after fixing the water pipe?" I glanced at the top of his head. "After fixing the water pipe, he can also fix the safe." There was a small safe in the closet. Pei Yanji knew about it. For the moment, he didn't say anything, but his eyes fell on the wet hem of Qin Xiao's shirt. Qin Xiao came out of the closet. He was tall. When Pei Yanji first came in, he was cautious. Now that he was caught, he stood in front of Pei Yanji with a noble posture. "Yeah, uncle, I'm here to fix the water pipe. Look, there was so much water that my clothes got wet." When he smiled, he somehow looked annoying. I didn't know if this kid was doing it on purpose. My face turned red, and I pulled Pei Yanji out. Pei Yanji advised me to send the person away early. Then he gave me the divorce agreement. He had already signed it. Well, the other woman was pregnant, wasn't she? Even if he didn't want to, Shen Yan wouldn't let this opportunity slip. "Lin Shi, I'm sorry, she's pregnant, and I can't let the child grow up without a father like I did." How noble he sounded. I felt like applauding him. What a responsible man. "Fine, you can go." He was stunned for a moment, seemingly not expecting me to be so calm, but seeing that I didn't seem to want to talk to him anymore, he hesitated, as if he still wanted to explain something, but his phone rang, and he had to leave. I pushed the door open angrily. I saw Qin Xiao taking off his shirt, standing soaked in front of the bathroom door. Then I remembered that there was indeed a problem with the bathroom water pipe. This kid really knew how to play it. Qin Xiao got up and carried me into the bathroom. With a smile on his lips, he said, "There's no sign of him in sister's room." I saw through his little thoughts at a glance. I nodded in cooperation. When the villa was renovated, he was already having an affair. "So this room is all mine." We had been living separately at that time. The young guy's eyes lit up. He turned on the shower, looking at me with a gradually darkening gaze, extremely happy. "So sister has always been mine alone." Pei Yanji contacted me again 3 days later. "Are you available tomorrow afternoon? Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to change the certificate." I was chatting with Qin Xiao and immediately replied, "Sure." When we came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, he was on the phone with Shen Yan. I vaguely heard Shen Yan asking about the property division. After learning that it was split evenly, Shen Yan's voice immediately got louder. I sneered, not interested in listening anymore. When I opened the car door to leave, Pei Yanji held my hand with a pale face and squeezed out a sentence. "Cece, are you also?" I saw a photo on his phone screen sent by Shen Yan. It was a photo of Qin Xiao and me. I nodded. "Yes, I learned from you." Pei Yanji took 2 steps back, his face looking terrible. He didn't say anything for a long time until I impatiently broke free from his hand. His eyes turned slightly red. "So, you were with him to get back at me?" I thought about it carefully and shook my head. "Because I like him." Although I did have that thought at first, it disappeared quickly. Pei Yanji seemed unable to accept my answer. The last glimmer of hope in his eyes disappeared. "Lin Shi, you're ruthless." After that, he said, "Don't regret it." I opened the car door. "I'll never regret it." A few days later, both my college and high school classmates with Pei Yanji sent me an invitation photo. It was the news of Pei Yanji and Shen Yan's wedding. "Did you two get divorced?" "Cece, no way. Pei Yanji is marrying someone else." I turned off my phone without replying. One by one I packed my things and went on a trip to the UK with Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao was overjoyed. As soon as we arrived at the hotel, he pinned me down on the bed and kissed me passionately. He buried his head in my neck, but then suddenly stopped. He looked at me pitifully. "Sister, Can I leave a mark? I originally wanted to tell him about the divorce, but seeing his little scheming look, I closed my mouth and nodded with my permission. He seemed even more excited. He charged hard. Tears welled up in my eyes. I wanted to kick him off, but I didn't have any strength left. At 23 or 24 years old, he really had a lot of energy. He lowered his head, biting my earlobe while exerting himself. Sister, am I amazing? Looking at his bright eyes, I said stubbornly, is this all you've got? His face turned extremely ugly finally. It was almost dawn when he stopped. My lips were numb from the kisses, and I was on the verge of tears. Qin Zhao's eyes were full of satisfaction. Sister, being young is great, right? That old man must not be able to satisfy you. The old man, was he referring to Pei Yanji? He was only 27 years old. Forget it. I didn't dare to be stubborn anymore and let him take me to the bathroom to clean up. We played in the UK for a week. Qin Zhao took a lot of photos of me, and there were also photos of us together. I was scrolling through my best friend's new WeChat moments, which was a photo of her and her boyfriend making their relationship public. Qin Zhao sighed. He muttered to himself, so I'm not worthy. Me. After the plane landed, Qin Zhao was clingy and didn't want to leave me. I rolled my eyes and simply asked him to drive me back. These days, Qin Zhao seemed to be on a roll, and my legs were still a bit weak. Qin Zhao hesitated. Is this appropriate? I rolled my eyes at his deadly handsome face. What's inappropriate? Qin Zhao could only get in the car. I was so tired that I closed my eyes as soon as I got in. Just before I fell asleep, I saw Qin Zhao, who was driving, looking worried one moment, determined the next, and then with a proud smile on his lips. When we arrived at the villa, I got out of the car groggily, picked up my luggage, and went in. Qin Zhao looked around to make sure no one was around, then rolled down the car window. Sister, you haven't said you love me yet. Such a lovesick fool. I perfunctorily said, love you, hurry up and go. Hearing my urging, a hint of disappointment appeared in his eyes. He nodded, and only left after seeing me close the door. I rested in the villa for a few days. My best friend sent me a video. In the video, Qin Zhao was driving a gray McLaren coldly on the mountain ring road, racing. Your little canary is actually a wild one, Cece. I just asked the club owner. He's the only son of the Qin family. He saw me. I lowered my eyes. In Kyoto, not many people didn't know about the Qin family. I thought of how he had been wearing worn-out sneakers in front of me these years. Looking at the message Qin Zhao had just sent me, I didn't reply. Qin Zhao called me several times, but I didn't answer. It wasn't until I had a fever at home and sent a message to my best friend, but to my surprise, it wasn't my best friend who came, but Qin Zhao. He was soaked through. He had a small plastic bag in his arms. He fed me medicine and cooked porridge for me. He didn't leave until I fell asleep groggily. The next day, I saw more than a dozen long messages. The general idea was an apology for hiding his identity. I thought about it. At first, I didn't tell him about my relationship with Pei Yanji either. After all, at first, I only regarded him as my kept boy, but now, with his identity, we were clearly not suitable. While I was hesitating, Pei Yanji called me. Sister, don't abandon me. I can be the other man as long as you have me in your heart. My voice was slightly hoarse, and I didn't know how to reply that day. He posted a WeChat moments. I'm so sad without you by my side. The picture was of him lying on black bedding, with slightly red eyes at the corners. My heart softened suddenly. I drove to the apartment. After opening the door quietly, I walked to the bedroom. Qin Zhao was already asleep, hugging my favorite pillow. I lowered my head, left a kiss on his lips, and lay down beside him, seemingly smelling my scent. He let go of the pillow and put his arm around my waist. When I woke up the next day, Qin Zhao hadn't woken up yet. I took my phone and sent him a photo of the divorce certificate. Just as I put down my phone, I saw him wake up. His eyes sparkled with surprise when he saw me. Cece. He seemed extremely happy. He carried me to the sink to wash up, and then went to the kitchen to make breakfast. After we had breakfast, he leisurely turned on his phone screen. The corners of his mouth almost reached his ears. He hugged me, spun me around a few times, and kissed me hard before stopping. I was sitting on the sofa watching TV when I heard Qin Zhao on the phone with his buddy. I'm kind of out of breath right now. Brother Zhao, don't scare me. I'll come pick you up right away. Tell me the address. Qin Zhao's voice was teasing. No, it's my girlfriend. She got divorced from her husband. I can come out in the open now. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Brother, you became the other man. Qin Zhao grinned. Don't put it so crudely. It's becoming the other man for love. I rolled my eyes at his annoying voice on the other end of the phone. The person was clearly speechless too. Is there a difference? Qin Zhao sneered. Of course there is, Brother Zhao. Did she really divorce her husband for you? Brother, don't you feel this isn't quite Right, before he could finish, Qin Xiao hung up the phone. A few days later, a woman claiming to be Qin Zhao's mother called me and invited me to meet at a coffee shop. I frowned. In my mind, I was already imagining the scene of being given 5 million yuan and told to leave Qin Xiao, so I went to the appointed coffee shop cautiously and sat down. Not long after, a noble-looking woman sat down in front of me. She took out a check. The words of refusal were already on my lips. Auntie, Qin Xiao and I are truly in love. At the same time, she spoke. Take this 50 million yuan. I paused. Auntie, actually, we're not that in love. I'll make things clear to Qin Xiao. With a family like the Qins, I had already anticipated the end of our relationship when I learned about Qin Zhao's identity. The noble-looking woman was taken aback. Make clear what? This is compensation for you. I'm really sorry. It's all my fault for not educating this child well, which led him, to go astray and seduce you. Don't worry, in the future, if you have any requests, you can tell us. This is what our family owes you. Me, I quickly explained. Auntie, it's not like that, it's my fault. She interrupted me. Don't blame yourself. To be honest with you, 4 years ago, his father accidentally saw his notebook and found out that he was planning to be the other man for love and even made notes. He was beaten up by his father, and we thought he had given up. Unexpectedly, he still managed to succeed. It's really a disgrace to our family. I was stunned, my mind still processing what she said. 4 years ago, Qin Xiao and I didn't even know each other. Right before I could fully digest it, Qin Xiao, who had rushed over from the company in a black suit, arrived. The black hair on his forehead was slightly damp. Seeing the check on the table, the panic in his eyes disappeared. He rushed forward and stuffed the check into my bag. Mom, I'm telling you, I will never separate from Cece. The noble-looking woman was speechless. Before she could say anything, Qin Xiao pulled me away. He stuffed me into the car. He took me to his company. When the employees around were whispering, Qin Xiao held my hand and introduced me, my girlfriend, officially. The passing HR manager was stunned. He turned to the people behind him and asked, did I say anything just now? The others shook their heads. Qin Xiao took me to his office. Just as I was hesitating and about to ask him about what the noble-looking woman said, he couldn't wait to lock the door, pinned me against the door, and kissed me passionately. After a long time, he reached out to wipe the wet mark on the corner of my lips. Then he turned and went to the lounge at the back. When he came out again, his fingertips were hooked with a brand new uniform, a white shirt, a pencil skirt, and black stockings. My eyes widened. He leaned over and whispered in my ear, sister, would you change into it? No way. I didn't realize he was into such fancy stuff. Under his gaze, with the round Adam's apple on his handsome face rolling slightly, I could only take the clothes and go to the lounge. When I came out, I felt extremely uncomfortable. Qin Xiao had his long legs crossed, leaning lazily on the black leather office chair. Seeing me come out, his eyes darkened. He got up, walked over, and threw me onto the bed in the lounge, then tugged at his tie, and then he just did it. Sister, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I remembered that I had bought him a lot of wolf ear suits, black chains. At that time, his face was blushing. I thought he was just shy, so I became even more proactive in teasing him. Now it seems that this kid was clearly stimulated at that time. Right, what a good actor. I still returned the check to Qin Xiao and asked him to give it back to his mother. When we got home, it was already dark. When Qin Xiao and I got out of the car, there were still exciting red marks on my neck. Most likely, his back was also scratched by me. Being young really means being energetic. Just as we were about to go upstairs, an unexpected figure appeared in front of us. It was Pei Yanji. Seeing me, his face looked terrible compared to his previous high-spirited self. He now exuded a sense of decadence all over. Back then, I accompanied him to establish Pei's corporation. After it got on the right track, due to my poor health for a while, I had to resign and stay at home. Unexpectedly, within a few months, Pei Yanji had an affair. Later, when we got divorced, I took half of his property. Those things were originally what I deserved. On the day of his wedding, I had someone play the photos and conversations that Shen Yin had sent to me privately over the years at their wedding. Many of Pei Yanji's clients, important people in the social circle, and even Shen Yin's classmates, who she had invited out of vanity, saw it. How could someone who knew the other person was married and still got involved have an easy time getting married? Although I no longer cared about Pei Yanji, it didn't mean I was a saint. After divorcing Pei Yanji, I started a new company. Although it was just in the initial stage, with my previous professional skills and understanding of the industry, it was now on the right track. Since we were in the same field and both in City A, I naturally heard a lot of news about Pei Yanji. After getting married, Shen Yin, on the pretext of needing care during pregnancy, brought her parents to the villa. I heard that some time ago. Shen Nian's father took all of Pei Yanji's treasured watches and gave them to relatives and friends. Pei Yanji quarreled with Xin Yan because of this, but Xin Yan blamed him for giving half of his family property to me. So what was wrong with her father taking a few watches? The two parted unhappily. There might be a lot more that I didn't know. When my best friend told me about it, I didn't say much. After all, it had nothing to do with me anymore. Cece, his voice was a bit hoarse, I regret it. Xin Yan's child isn't mine. She deliberately got herself pregnant with someone else's child to force me to marry her. I've divorced her. I don't mind your past with Qin Xiao. Can we start over? Let's live a good life. During this period, my mind has been filled with our past. Do you remember? You loved the wontons at the school gate the most. Let's go back and have a look. Okay, I was almost angry enough to laugh. On what grounds do you think I would go back to you, Pei Yanji, when you had an affair? Did you think about those 7 years? He didn't speak, but his eyes turned red. I just wanted to seek some excitement for a while. I've always loved you. I looked at him with disgust. Forget it. Qin Xiao next to me put his arm around my waist. Sorry, but she has me now. Pei Yanji's face turned red with anger, and he stared at Qin Xiao fiercely. You're shameless. Qin Xiao shrugged. Who asked you to give me a chance? Pei Yanji's lips turned pale. Cece, I know I was wrong. I was the one who betrayed you first, but can't we really start over? I've investigated his identity. Do you think a family like the Qins will really accept you? I interrupted him. All of this has nothing to do with you, Pei Yanji. No matter what, you will no longer be in my future. After that, I pulled Qin Zhao's hand and walked in. After Pei Yanji divorced Xin Yan, she still often came to his place with her family. To avoid her, Pei Yanji had to go to the overseas branch for half a year. Everyone said that Pei Yanji had bad judgment and had an affair for such a woman. Some nosy people even asked me, Ms. Jiang, you're so beautiful, how could President Pei be willing to divorce you? I didn't respond. At this time, my company was on the right track and could be compared to Pei's corporation at its peak. After returning home, I accidentally found a diamond ring in Qin Zhao's coat pocket. It seemed to have been frequently rubbed, leaving marks on the surface of the velvet box. I chuckled. I didn't have the thought of giving up something good just because of a previous setback. That night, when Qin Xiao was in a daze of passion and saw the diamond ring on my finger, a flash of surprise appeared in his eyes, and his eyes suddenly became a bit moist. Baby, wife, sister, along with a passionate kiss. When his family and friends found out, they didn't say anything. After all, Qin Zhao's lovesickness had become well known during this period. He was jokingly said to be the one who came from behind to win, because he fought and snatched. On the day Qin Xiao and I got married, we received an anonymous gift. It was a can of fake fireflies and a property transfer certificate. On it was written the word dowry. The boy who accompanied me to watch the fireflies in the midsummer of my 17th year had long since died. The person who helped pass the things to me was a classmate of Pei Yanji and me. He hesitated and said, he hugs your photo and drinks heavily every day abroad. When he heard the news of your marriage, he almost had a car accident. I asked him to return everything. It would be better to have no more entanglements in this life. Qin Xiao next to me was jealous. Sister, I also have something for you. More than him. After that, his lawyer gave me a bunch of transfer certificates and property certificates. They were all in his name, including 30% of the shares of Qin's group. He pressed my hand and made me sign. After the wedding ceremony ended, I returned to the room in the Qin family's old house. I was about to put something away on the bedside table. When I opened the drawer, I saw a notebook. On the cover was written Qin Zhao's Guide to Winning Her Heart. After reading the contents inside, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Qin Xiao came out of the bathroom, his ear tips so red that they seemed about to drip blood. No wonder I got beaten. I smiled softly. He came over and sat me on his lap. I naturally put my arms around his neck. Qin Xiao, when exactly did you fall in love with me? He lowered his head and looked at me seriously. At first sight, when you were hit by a basketball in your junior year, I blinked. At that time, there were indeed several freshmen playing basketball. After I was accidentally hit on the shoulder, several boys came up to apologize to me. One of them even took me to the infirmary. Suddenly, Qin Zhao's face flashed in my mind. So it was him who took me to the infirmary. He coughed softly, then he turned over and put me on the bed. As for what happened later, I saw it from his notes, deliberately styling himself but pretending to be poor in front of me, adding me on WeChat. Qin Xiao didn't give me a chance to think in detail. He forcefully intertwined his index finger with mine. After the passionate moment, I heard him say, sister, I love you. Extra story, Qin Zhao's perspective. The first time Qin Xiao saw Lin Shi, Zhouzi's basketball hit someone, he went up with his teammates to apologize. He saw Lin Shi wearing a gray pleated skirt and a white sleeveless top. The girl had long, straight black hair, and she was so gentle and beautiful that it was breathtaking. He was stunned. The others apologized in a hurry, and he immediately took her to the infirmary. When he came back from the commissary with an ice pack Lin Shi had left. Later, he found Lin Shi's information on the campus network. He also knew that she had a boyfriend. That night, he tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Finally, he decided to be the other man for love, so he made a series of plans. Unexpectedly, his father found out, beat him up, and even found someone to give him psychological counseling. Qin Xiao hesitated. When he returned to school a few days later, he found out that Lin Shi and her boyfriend had started a company and were starting a business. They wouldn't be back during this period. It happened to be the internship period of that year, so naturally, no one cared. He found Lin Shi, but saw her and her boyfriend smiling intimately in the restaurant. People around said they were a perfect match, but he thought that if it were him, he would be even more suitable. He privately left a message on Lin Shi's Weibo, but was gently rejected by her. 1.5 years later, he accidentally saw Lin Shi's boyfriend kissing another girl. He specifically inquired about the situation and learned that they were married and that the man had an affair. He took out that guide to winning her heart again. He secretly became friends with her in the game, greeted her every day, and chatted with her. Online dating, meeting in person. After being with Lin Shi, every time she came back, he would deliberately not wear a shirt. He learned to cook. The purpose was to let her see how much better he was than that cheating man, to make her keep him in this home. Netizens said that the easier something is to get, the less it will be cherished. Qin Xiao tentatively proposed a breakup. He regretted it as soon as he sent the message, but he didn't want to be with her in this ambiguous position anymore. He wanted to be the legitimate one. Lin Shi was indeed panicked. He knew what she loved the most, so he sent her videos. Finally, he compromised. He felt guilty inside, but he knew he was despicable and yet was happy with it until he learned that Lin Shi was divorced. He was overjoyed. He got together with Lin Shi as a matter of course. Looking at Lin Shi in his arms, he glanced at the festive sticker on the door, then lowered his head and kissed Lin Shi's forehead. Then he threw away that guide to winning her heart. He didn't need it anymore. Later, his moon fell into his arms and never left. The end.